What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another fabulous edition of Mattalk. John, man, I wanted to start this off with a whole musical number. Welcome to Mattalk.
We can. You ready? Me. Welcome to
Mattalk. Anyway, we're recording this on Friday, and like the whole internet has gone awry. So I'm like cleaning all these fires at work. It's been a morning, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. Maybe we should let the folks know why we're recording on Friday morning rather than our typical Sunday at 8 p.m., which this will air Sunday at 8 p.m. Yours truly has got another endeavor. I have the opportunity to be an extra in a indie film that is shooting this weekend in Columbus, Ohio. I'm very excited for it. The project's called Body of Walter, and two gentlemen that I've had on my podcast, the PVD Cast, they're putting it together. They're shooting this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. So until I figure out a way to make me available at two different places at the same time, this is what we have to do.
And guys, I want to let you guys know something about my friend John here. They're like, John, be an extra in our movie. And John's like, sure. And he reads the script and goes, I need script approval. I need this amount of money. I want to know what my character's intentions are or what its motives are. And they're like, John, you're just in the background. Yeah, but why am I in the background? What brought me to be in the background of your picture? Like, I must know what Craig has been doing his whole life. John, your character doesn't have a name. Yes, he does. His name is Craig, and I need to know more about Craig. Like, why am I here? And they're like, John, this is just a walk-on part. And yeah, it was. I can't believe they agreed to John's script proposal, but John is now playing Craig Menendez, and he is a factory worker from Nebraska who likes long walks on the beach, and he was married, got divorced, got married again, got divorced. He's been married 6 times already. He's got one of those hole punching cards where the 7th one is free. So, he's in the background because he's looking for that special someone because he's on his way to a blind date. So, John, congratulations on getting such an extensive backstory for your character, Craig Menendez.
You know what? It's just going to be like this episode of Matlock. I'm going to be in my dressing room. I'm going to be trying to get in the zone. I will be listening to soft music. I will be upset that Michelle Thomas is interviewing me and asking me these questions. I'm ready. And I'm excited. So
yeah, and he's got a trailer, guys. Like, don't let it cloud your judgment. People that are extras don't get any of this stuff, but John Orlando does.
Well, you know what? Funny you mentioned that. This will be the third indie film that I have been involved in. One, sadly, it's a long story, but we'll just say that no one knows where the footage is. The footage was given to somebody to be re-edited for a different project, and that person kind of moved and I believe took the footage with him, and no one can get in touch with him. So that kind of sucks. That was my first foray playing a FBI agent, and then I played just a normal. I literally had like 30 seconds on screen, but I had one line, and it was a comedy. And then this one,
relatives of Craig Menendez from John's new film.
Oh, the funny part is I'm scheduled to be this weekend an extra where I am. Guess what? An FBI agent. I must be pigeonholed into this. You need an FBI agent. I'm your man. That's what we'll say.
Mm-hmm. You need an extensive backstory for a character that has no meaning to your plot. You call John Orlando and he will write one for you.
I will be there with bells on.
I'm ready to talk about Matlock, man.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and get into it here. And just in case the internet decides to be more goofy, let's go ahead and start off by getting into our opening statements. The title of this episode of Matlock is called The Critic, and its original air date is January 8th, 1991. We have to talk about probably the biggest guest star out of the list that I have, and that is Joel Grey. And for those folks that do not know who Joel Grey is very well renowned in the theater world. He's worked and starred in Cabaret, Wizard of Oz, Chicago, Wicked. He directed Fiddler on the Roof, one of the times that was revived. So he is very well known. Now, in the film world and film and TV, he will be playing for this episode of Matlock, Tommy DeLuca, but he's also been known as the Master of Ceremonies, which is what he played on stage, but this would be in the film version of Cabaret. Mr. Sloan on Alias. I believe it's pronounced Lemuel Idzik on the HBO prison show Oz. Doc on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Chi Yun in Reno Williams, The Adventure Begins, and a whole host of other credits to Joel's name.
Yeah, nice. I didn't recognize him at first. I do recognize him now that I've seen some photos of him older.
Yeah, he's got a unique look to him. In fact, when we get to the part where he's testifying, he's got some weird facials going on, man. Like, I mean, I didn't know if he was overacting or just trying to make this character more bizarre than it needed to be, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Our next guest star is a gentleman by the name of Tony Roberts, who will be playing the role of Guy Palmer. He seems to have a link to Woody Allen because he's in a lot of Woody Allen projects, such as Annie Hall, where he played the role of Rob. He played the role of Dick and Played Again, Sam. He also was in A Midsummer Night's Sex Party as the role of Maxwell. He also played LaSalle in the 1974 version of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. He also played Bob Blair in Serpico. And he is, of course, are you ready? He is a hat trick winner. He was in Murder, She Wrote and a Perry Mason TV movie as well. Yes, let's give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo-hoo! Yeah.
Yeah. Tony Roberts getting the hat trick.
He was also in the quality film Amityville 3D, and he was the narrator in the Star Wars original trilogy's audiobooks.
So here's my question. Since he has a link to a lot of Woody Allen projects, have you seen any Woody Allen movies?
I've only seen the new ones. I've seen a couple of the new ones. No, not really. And I've liked the movies. I don't like him as a person, but I've liked the movies that he has made that I've seen. So I do need to watch them eventually. I just haven't.
I think I've only seen two. I saw Hannah and Her Sisters back in the 90s, which was okay. And then most recently I saw Blue Jasmine, which I really liked. And the only reason why I watched it was because Andrew Dice Clay was in it. And I'm like, what? Andrew Dice Clay in a serious role? I don't want to be that guy, but he's kind of just playing himself on stage, which, interestingly enough...
I mean, I heard he did a pretty good job doing it, though.
Yes, he did do a very good job in it. And, one of the things I learned about a year ago while listening to some other podcast is that Andrew Dice Clay is the nicest, most humble, he is the total antithesis of what he is on stage. Because I'm sure like me, I should say, Jason, you probably thought, oh my God, this guy, he's a holy terror off stage. But no, he is very much very kind and wouldn't say a bad word about anybody and is not racist or misogynist or anything. That Andrew Dice Clay on stage is not the same guy off stage.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of people that do his kind of comedy are not like that off stage.
Right, absolutely. All right, so we have a couple more to talk about here. So our next guest star is Jeffrey Blake. He will be playing the role of Sam Spelvin. You may also know him as the character Fisher in the movie Contact. There's no R in that. Contact. John Ford in Midway. He also played Wesley in Forrest Gump. He played Doc Meyer in the TV show The Man in the High Castle. He also played Nelson on Franklin and Bash. He also played Vern in Mighty Joe Young. Hound Adams on the TV show Renegade, and a whole host of other credits. Come on, man. You want to talk about Franklin and Bash. Let's hear it. Come on.
I've never seen it.
What?
Yeah, I've never seen it. I want to. It's got Zach Morris and the dude from Garfield in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got John. Is it Mark Paul Gosselaar or Gosler?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
And he was in Critters 3, which is my favorite Critters movie. It's also Critters 3 also has a very young in his very first role, Leonardo DiCaprio. And he was also in Life Goes On. You remember that show?
I do remember that show.
Corky. It's the only thing I remember about that show is Corky.
That's it. That's all I remember too is Corky.
I remember Corky and AIDS. Like, I don't know how any of it goes together, but I remember both of those being a prevalent part of that show. Right? Am I wrong?
I don't remember that.
Dude, I was like 5 when the show was out.
I can't back you up on that one. I don't know. I know.
I literally only remember those 2 things. I think her boyfriend had it or something. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Wait,
I remember.
Dude, you got to Google this. You can't leave this just float out there in the ether because
Becca Thatcher. That was her name. I remember that.
I don't remember. The only thing that I remember is the Haley Joel Osment clip from Walker, Texas Ranger, where he says, Walker says, I have AIDS, which is like just out of nowhere and like, what? So while you're looking that up.
Yeah, Chad Lowe. Yeah, his character. It wasn't the character, the actor. His character had it on that show.
Okay, I thank God, because I don't want people to think that we're being mean and like laughing at this, but it just came out of nowhere, and that's
his character's name was Jesse. Yes.
Okay.
Jesse told Becca he was HIV positive in the second season. Like, isn't that weird that those are the only 2 things about that show I remembered until I looked it up, and the name like Becca and Jesse, it all started kind of to float back. But
well, dude, you mentioned it. You were young when that show was on. I was old. I mean, I was clearly 37 at that time.
I just remember that show was just like absurdly serious.
Mm-hmm. And it was on ABC too. I remember that. All right, let's talk about our final.
83 episodes.
Wow. All right, let's talk about our final guest star. A guy that he is the epitome of, you see him, you go, oh yeah, that guy. Tony J will be playing the role of John Bosley Hackett. You know him as Frollo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I believe that was an animated movie. Council Chief in My Stepmother is an Alien. He played Supreme Being in Time Bandits. Monsieur d'Arc in the animated Beauty and the Beast feature. He was Dr. Lipschitz in the Rugrats movie. Dougie Milford in Twin Peaks. Laszlo on the Golden Girls, and literally this guy has a ton of voiceover work for cartoons and video games. And when you hear him speak his couple of lines in this episode, you're like, oh yeah, that's a dude that would do a lot of voiceover work. He's got one of those voices filled with gravitas. Anything, Jason, on your behalf that I missed?
When I saw this on IMDb, I thought his name was Tony Jaa. Like, that's not what Tony Jaa looks like. The martial arts guy.
Yes, that would be awesome if he was on an episode of Matlock. He could kick some butt for sure.
But yeah, quick glance, I saw Tony J, and I thought it was Tony Jaa.
No, Tony J, who passed away, I think, in the mid 2000s, like 2006, I believe.
Dude, this guy was like our childhood, man. Well, mine. You were born in the 60s, but
I was not born in the 60s.
He was in a
the
lot 1860s. Of good cartoons. A lot of good cartoons. Tailspin. I don't remember him on Twin Peaks though, but I do know a lot of these other things that he was in.
I only threw in Laszlo on the Golden Girls because he was one of the many boyfriends or dates of the ladies, and I just thought it'd be fun to throw him in there. But one appearance on the Golden Girls as Laszlo.
You missed what he's most known for, John, and that is being Watson on Beethoven, the animated cartoon series.
Wait, there was an animated cartoon series for Beethoven?
It's on Tubi. I haven't watched it. I did
not know that.
I've thought about it.
All right, Jason, it's time. It's time, my friend, to find out if you can give an opinion, your opinion, solely your opinion, so help you.
I do, John. It is time to testify. Justin's got to meet with his union rep because I'm doing a pretty good job producing the show. I don't know if we need Justin anymore. Just kidding, Justin.
All right, let's talk about the plot. Ben must defend a young playwright accused of murder. So the opening scene. I love this opening scene. This right now is the bee's knees. Let me just tell you right now, it is a musical set in a courtroom based on some court case, and Ben has a little bit of tie-in as a technical advisor. Ben and Julie are in the audience, and you could tell right off the bat, Julie is not enjoying this play, is she?
Julie hates it.
Julie hates it. She is not a fan. But after the play, Julie gets to meet our young playwright, Sam. And so they talk about the play. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of his eye, Sam sees John Bosley Hackett and gets worried because this guy is notorious for being a really difficult person when it comes to giving reviews to plays. I'd say that like Ebert and Siskel, they were pretty fair in their ratings, but this guy isn't. He's a shark. All right, he's a shark.
Listen, John. I'm somebody who likes everything, and yes, I totally want to see this entire play and it's full, but even I would give this play probably a negative review.
What?
So they should be worried about every single critic, not just this one guy. Like they should be after them all because I can't imagine it's getting a good review.
Well, the little like footnote to this is that Sam says this is just a preview. We haven't opened the doors for ticket sales and we haven't opened the doors for the general public. This is just a little kind of dress rehearsal to the extreme, if you will.
So my question would be, so you're changing the whole script then? So this is just so you're changing everything, right?
Yeah, because that's one of the things Sam says is it's still a work in progress, and his producer is Guy, and so they're both very concerned about the fact that Hackett is there in the audience. So we go to a scene where there's some rehearsals going on, and Sally wants some pictures taken of her and Guy and Tommy and, of course, Sam. So they take a few photos, and then we see we don't see the rehearsals just yet with Tommy. We actually have Sam lamenting that he is going to go talk to Hackett and see if he can't smooth some things over, make him understand that, look, this is not a finished product. But before he goes, we see a scene where Tommy is watching rehearsals. He's up in the balcony. It's a big dance number. And it's kind of, I like how they did this. It's intercut with the murder of Beckett. So we go kind of Hackett, not Beckett, Hackett. We go back and forth from Hackett eating his breakfast and being killed to the dance rehearsal. I thought that was kind of a neat cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jason, it's going to be your least favorite part of this episode. Because Tommy and Sam, they have words at rehearsal, and Sam storms off to meet Hackett, finds him in his hotel room, dead on the floor. And the maid sees, of course, Sam standing over the body with the knife in hand.
Yeah, and again, guys, no blood because they didn't bleed in the early 90s.
Well, here's my question, though. I like how Sam tried to convince the maid, like, oh, call the police. Like, he didn't just stand there like, and we cut to the next scene. At least they tried to, like, have him be like, oh, wait, this is a misunderstanding. But nonetheless, your pet peeve still exists in this episode.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done my pet peeve in this show. And guys, listen, if you're ever unfortunate enough to find a dead body, don't grab the weapon. Don't go near the body. Don't go in the room. If you can help it, don't go in the room. Don't grab the body. I mean, if it looks like maybe they're still breathing, then you can go and administer CPR, but definitely don't touch the weapon, okay? Don't touch the weapon.
Also, too, by the way, don't leave your car doors unlocked because, well, you might find a dead body in the car.
Listen, John.
Yeah. I'm all for it. Look, I am pro locking your car doors. That's me. And I'm still going to stand by that. In fact, if you're sitting out there and you're like, yeah, John, you tell him, why don't you drop us a line? And Jason, where can they drop us a line at?
You guys can email us anytime at benmattalk@gmail.com.
That's right. You can be like Liz, who last episode talked about how much she enjoyed The Broker. And we appreciate Liz's comments as well as everyone's comments, either through email or on the Facebook page, which of course is at Mattalk Podcast. All right. So let's go to police headquarters. Sam is being interviewed by Ben. And basically everyone knew about Sam meeting with Hackett. But Sam says, look, I can't pay $100,000 for you to defend me, Ben, even though you've known me since I was yay high. I can't do it. But what I can do is this. If you end up representing me and the play is a success, I'll double your money, $200K. Now, this doesn't sound like a very good endeavor, does it? I mean, Ben knows that the play is a little bit of a dog. He says it later in the episode. So, and in fact, he even talks about it being a beached whale. Act number 1 is a beached whale. Act number 2 is a beached whale. So why even do this facade that he's possibly going to come into a windfall with this play? Sam, of course, being.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what, fans out there, if we end up coming into a windfall with this podcast, we'll continue doing it.
We're going to probably continue doing it anyway, guys. It will help incentivize John for my future plans of Murder TV and Colum TV.
Colum.
Colum Talk and Murder Talk. Or Murder She Talked. Ooh. Murder She
That's
Spoke.
stolen right now. You better get that copyrighted. That's stolen
Murder
right now.
She Spoke. Trademark. Mattalk LLC.
All right, Julie and Ben. They are together and they watch Hackett's review. Actually, we finally get the name of the play. It's called Lovers and Lawyers. And of course, Mr. Hackett trashes it. All right. Sally Ann White, she is so mad. She is so mad at this bad review. She throws a vase with flowers in it and smashes it against the TV screen. And so we go to a scene where Ben shows up to the theater and Michelle is there. And she says that Guy is closing the show, that the bad publicity, we gotta close the show. Sorry, guys, we can't go on. And then a guy shows up who we find out later is Sydney. He's like the PR guy. And he thinks that the bad review in the newspaper is really a positive because people are buying tickets. They want to see this. They heard about the murder. They want to see it. You know, I guess it's true. No publicity or bad publicity is better than no publicity. What say you, Jason?
Oh yeah, people love controversy, man.
They
do. They're just hoping to show up the next day and somebody else will get killed. This is the natural instinct of humans, which is crazy to me. But yeah, no, that's 1,000% the most realistic thing I've ever seen on an episode of Matlock is that people are lined up to watch this play where some affiliation, something tragic has happened.
Mm-hmm. All right, we go to the crime scene where Ben is recreating the murder. I love how he just falls on the ground, very slow motion wise. And Julie catches him in the act. So Ben says, here's the weird part. Hackett's breakfast order, man. He had all this food, but he didn't touch the OJ. He didn't touch the coffee. And he thinks that is kind of weird. And then also, Ben says, I don't think you should be involved in this court case, Miss Julie. Why? Because you're biased. You hate this play. Ooh, what a power play move for Mr. Ben Matlock.
But is she gonna send somebody to jail for murder because she hates their play? Like, oh, you got to stop making movies or plays, and I don't ever want you to get into Hollywood. So I'm just gonna make sure this case sticks.
Here's my thing too, real quick about this. Like, Ben, if you want some more of that fine fried chicken that Julie's known for, I mean, it just showed up a few episodes ago. you better not tell her you need to drop this cake. Because that seems like that would be something that would get you in big trouble with your significant other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Here's what we talked about in the opening. Michelle interviews Sally, and she's interrupting the process. All right. And because of that, she's late to rehearsal. And so we get another random musical number. And we see Ben goes up into the balcony to sit with Tommy. And Ben says that he thinks that this scene that they're rehearsing, is his favorite in the show. And I wrote, no one cares, Ben. No one cares what your favorite scene is. So Ben overhears Sydney and Guy arguing, and then Guy catches Ben eavesdropping against the door. And so Ben and Guy sit down and talk. And so basically, Guy basically is just the producer. He's the money man, if you will. So he is going to be the one in charge of the finances, and that's why he wanted to shut down the show. Now, this was a weird one, and it turned out that it would be what I thought it was. I wrote down here, is Ben timing his trip from the theater to the hotel? And spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, he is. But Ben, he doesn't move like he's in a big hurry, especially in that last scene when he's like a track runner. Like he's in the 100-meter dash, and he gets to that last 10 meters, and he's like, give up and just coast. You know what I mean?
Well, he's trying to prove a point. Like it takes a minute to get from here to here. Like you can take your time and be there on time. And
true.
I forgot to mention this earlier. There's no way I believe that Ben Matlock would invest any money in a play, let alone a musical, because he's not coming off of money on a not for sure thing.
No. You are correct on that. Absolutely. Well, while Ben is in the hotel, he runs into Sydney, and basically Sydney got fired by Guy. And so Ben says, hey, I want to talk to you. Let's go have some coffee. Well, what do you know? You need somebody undercover. You know who to turn to. Conrad McMaster. And so Conrad has somehow found his way onto the back, onto the set as a stagehand. And one night he decides to go and check out the office of Guy. And so Conrad's circling through the desks, but what he doesn't know is two goons have snuck in, and they're just laying waste to the set. Now, to me, I think my problem with this scene is that it seems like baseball bats on wooden sets make a lot of noise. And you mean to tell me that Conrad was so far in the bowels of the theater that he couldn't hear that?
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he wasn't paying attention. It's
know.
possible, man. I don't not buy that.
Well,
everybody's got goons. I want a goon. How do you find them? Is there like a goons wanted page where you can go on and sign up to be a goon? Because I want to get a goon. Is there like goons for hire?
I don't know. I would say check out Craigslist, but I don't know. Is Craigslist a thing anymore?
I wouldn't use my goons for evil. I got some projects around the house that need done. I'd love to have goons for,
Hey, we need a new gutter installed. Where's my goons?
Yeah, if you guys know how to come across goons, email us at benmattalk@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
All right. Let's get back to it. Sally chats once again with Michelle, and her alibi is that when the murder happened, she was in her dressing room, and she was all by herself, which is not a good alibi, by the way. So Sally is summoned to Guy's office, and then say that Sally is the reason why they're shutting down the production. And so Ben arrives, and basically he presents this theory that's a little bit odd. So I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. So Guy's having some money issues. And so basically what he did was Guy told everybody, all of his investors, that he was going to budget the show at $1 million. But he actually collected $2 million. And so what he needs is a flop on his hands. It's kind of like that Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane musical, The Producers. It's like he wants a flop so he can make more money. All right. And so Tommy is eavesdropping on this conversation, and he confronts Guy. And Sally had, all of a sudden we find out Sally has OD'd in her dressing room because some random guy comes and he's part of the production. He's like, oh my God, she's passed out on the floor.
I called this too, by the way.
I did too, because this just seemed like out of nowhere. Like, she overdosed on what?
Well, I mean, she could have overdosed on anything. It's just didn't make any sense to the story why she would have overdosed. Like, she didn't have any information. She didn't do that phone call like, hey, I know who did it. Meet me tonight at midnight, and I'm going to tell you exactly who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then she would have gotten poisoned. But no, she wasn't poisoned. She was fine. She was acting, as John Lovitz would say.
Yeah, it was ridiculously overacted and totally bogus. Had nothing to do with the storyline. And but while Sally's confronting Tommy and Guy, Ben finds a clue. It's a newspaper and a framed photo. So let's go to the courtroom. Tommy is on the stand. And here's where I said, Tommy's got some, Joel Grey's got some unique facial expressions. But nonetheless, Ben presents a past review from Hackett. And it's a bad review of this play that starred Tommy's wife. All right. And so this is so devastating to her that she leaves Tommy. She departs for, I believe, Europe. First of all, I think you got to have really thin skin if you get one jackass who dislikes your performance and that wrecks your life for the rest of it. I mean, I think that's
comments are no joke. Because, for example, and I hope Justin doesn't get mad at me saying this, when Three Geeks gets comments, Max and I, we find them hilarious. Like, they don't bother us at all, but they do get to Justin sometimes. And it's just one of those things, man. You can't let the comment section get to you, because the people that are going to sit down and write a comment are pretty much the ones that are the negatives. It's not people that love your stuff are not really going to comment. They might hit like. No, it's the ones that want to go out of their way to ruin your day are going to leave that comment.
Mm-hmm. Just think, this is before social media. This is like 30 years before social media. So, I mean, I hate to tell Tommy DeLuca's wife, but it only gets worse. It only gets worse.
Yeah.
I will say this right now. There's a shot of Julie in her green dress with some extreme shoulder pads. That's right. I haven't ragged on shoulder pads in the 90s in women's fashions for a while. It's back. My God, like she looked like she looked like she was a Robotech, like robot. That's what she looked like. That they were out to here, folks. They were out to here.
To comment on the shoulder pads on the last episode we did, because they also were pretty prevalent in Michelle's attire.
Oh yeah. So Tommy's alibi is that he was watching rehearsals, and he mentioned about this guy named Willie. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really know what Willie does. I think he's the lighting guy, because they threw out a vocabulary term that I couldn't figure out what the heck it was. I couldn't Google it because I didn't know exactly where to begin. But Ben says, whoa. If you're doing rehearsals, Willie's job is to focus on what's going on at rehearsal. So he could very well have ignored the fact that you left. And in fact, Ben presents the fact that, hey, you can easily walk from the theater over to the hotel in X amount of minutes and still be back in time for the dance rehearsal to be done. Well, Tommy denies all this. He's like, no. So then Ben says, hey, let me ask you about breakfast. And everybody's like, whoa, breakfast. And so the breakfast menu is brought into the courtroom as evidence. And then we find out Tommy wears a toupee, which I want to know, did Joel Grey really wear a toupee, or is this just a work of fiction? Because I'm wondering that, because his hair was kind of weird, man. But I'm not saying it, Joel Grey, please don't get mad at me. I'm just saying. I just wanted to know. But basically, Ben's theory is Hackett fights. All right, he fights with Tommy DeLuca, and basically his toupee falls off because Hackett grabs a handful of hair of it, and so Tommy has to swap out his toupee because he has 3 toupees. One showing that he got a haircut so he can deceive everybody. A second one, it's kind of medium length, so he could deceive everybody. And then one that's super long. So in 20 minutes, he got a haircut because he put on the wrong toupee. And so one of those particular photos that he took from the office shows Tommy with short hair. And it's like, did you go get a haircut? So basically,
I mean, it was very minuscule too, the difference, everybody. Like,
yeah, I mean, this is flaky if you ask me.
Only Matlock is going to find it, which is why he's as good as he is. Let's be honest.
So basically, Tommy took the one toupee that was ripped off that has food particles in it and took it to a wig maker in the ATL who's going to fix and clean up the toupee. In fact, breakfast food was found in the toupee. And then at the end of this questioning, Ben whispers to Tommy, I kind of liked your play. Sorry, for those that didn't hear that, Ben said, I kind of liked your play. The charges against Sam are dropped. Ben asked Sam to cut out the jokes in the play if you're going to rewrite the script, especially the ones that are derogatory towards lawyers. And Ben and Julie are off to get dinner. And that concludes our discussion of The Critic. Jason, anything you want to throw in there before we get to wrapping up the episode?
I do not, John.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our closing statement.
This is the part of the podcast where John and I will rate the show on a gavel system. 5 gavels means we absolutely loved it. We're joining a musical and we're going to have a lot of fun. 1 gavel means we didn't love it. And negative 300 gavels means we're going to quit singing altogether. John, what did you think of this episode?
People now want a negative 300 episode because we've sung quite a bit on this podcast and it's always ugly. I gave it a 3. I felt like I loved the opening scene. I loved and was really honestly hoping that we would get some more of that. Like, I want a whole musical of Matlock. That's what I want. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer did.
If this episode had been made post 99, this probably would have been more of a musical episode, 1,000%.
Absolutely.
I mean, a Don Knotts musical number. Come on, guys. Like, it's right there. Like, couldn't we get that?
Yeah.
That's what I was waiting for. I was like, he's going to come in singing something to Benji.
You know that I was actually in To Kill a Mockingbird when I was in high school, Ben. You know,
I played the Mockingbird, Ben.
So I love the opening scene. I love Julie and Ben's interaction again. I feel like the negatives were the overacting and the plot about Sally ODing. The plot was a little bit wonky too. Like I felt there were some things that didn't quite fit in there that they were just throwing in there. So yeah, it wasn't a terrible episode. It wasn't a great episode. I'm giving it 3 gavels.
That's right, folks. John Orlando does not know what fun is. This episode was fun, and I'm going to give it a 4.5 because I do want to sing all the time. I can't get it to 5, even though I really want to, just so I can say I can sing everything for the rest of my life. But I give it a 4.5. Not because it's the best episode of Matlock, but because it was fun. The overacting in some scenes is part of that musical charm, I think. And while we couldn't have a musical episode in the 80s or 90s for whatever reason, this episode did have elements of a musical throughout it, which was, again, the overacting and a few other things. So I liked it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. So, Jason, what do you got going on with the 3 Geeks podcast?
3 Geeks podcast live Saturday at 7 p.m. We are counting down to our 10-year anniversary, which is going to take place on the 10th of August, 10/10. Perfect timing. I mean, what can you say?
Whoa. Time out. Wait, time out. Did you say 10/10?
Like a 10th of August, meaning 10th of August is our 10-year anniversary. That's what I meant by 10 out of 10. I know the month of August is 8. Like, I'm not that naive. But I have started reaching out to people, man, and I've only heard back from 2 so far, but I heard back from 2 like within seconds. So I messaged, some of the people that have been on the show. I messaged the Candy kids, Jen and Chris. Within seconds, they messaged me back. Like, I freaking love them. Jennifer and Chris Candy. If you guys don't follow them, you should. They're the children of John Candy, and they're just freaking lovely. Like, I was telling Chris, I love the fact that you and your sister are so approachable.
No, I like the fact that you call them the Candy Kids, because that just, I mean, I know that's their name, but it sounds funny. It sounds
that sounds like a great television sitcom. I'm going to pitch it to them.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as for me, the PVD Cast is my own personal podcasting project, available at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great podcasts. This week's episode features Cameron Lee. He's an independent comic book creator out of Kansas City, Missouri, and he's got a great comic called God Punk. And you'll also, if you're like me, you'll also learn the history behind the two Kansas cities, Kansas City, Mo, and Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah, that's right. Cameron dropped some knowledge on you. So there you go. Check it out again at pvdcast.com or wherever you find podcasts.
Well, guys, I wasn't done plugging. I also want to mention that I dropped my Beetlejuice trailer number 2 reaction on our YouTube and all of our social medias at 3 Geeks Podcast, and the Alien Romulus trailer reaction. Both of those movies look amazing. I can't wait. Horror is back in the Alien franchise. Fede Alvarez is directing it. If you're into the original Alien, I think you're going to love the new one. And then Beetlejuice. I was already in. Beetlejuice 2 somehow made me more excited. So I can't wait. I'm sure I might be setting myself up for disappointment on the latter because Tim Burton's either awesome or not. And for me, he's more not than awesome. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get on out of here, shall we?
Yep. And as they say in court,
nothing further.